Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of Two Guys Reviewing
Is it
Stuff.
four?
Well, we did that special Super Bowl episode.
Oh,
Yeah, the one you hated. Um, so this is our 4th episode. Thank you out there, everybody who watched it.
I apologize.
So today, we're going to be reviewing the show Snowpiercer, season 1, because they're halfway through season 2 now.
Just a little under. I think
Okay.
they're 4 episodes deep, getting ready to throw five on Monday.
Okay. Do you want to kind of give everybody a backstory of what happened and how Snowpiercer came to be?
So basically, what happens is Snowpiercer was created because the Earth was warming, and scientists of the day decided they were going to try and combat it by putting something in the upper atmosphere to cool the planet.
Mhm.
Well, things went a little too well for them. They did too good a job.
Yeah.
And ended up freezing the Earth down to its core, pretty much. I think it's negative 100 degrees most places, somewhere around there.
Whenever they accuse, it's anywhere between 107 to 127 throughout the season.
Yeah, so it's a little chilly. No real life can exist on the face of the Earth at the moment. So Wilford Industries, with the vision of Mr. Wilford, ends up building Snowpiercer, a train that's 1,001 cars long. Has the vestiges of what's remaining of humanity on it. Pretty much any animal life that they decided to salvage, any plant life they could salvage. And they have a bunch of different cars. I mean, some are full of cows, some are full of fish. They have obviously plants,
Mhm.
and I guess they had to take some people with them.
Yeah, so pretty much it's like an arc.
Pretty much,
It's like an arc on the tracks.
yeah. So that happened 7 years before our story takes place.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where our story starts. That's where things kind of go off the rails.
Well, 7 years, and I
Get
think
it
it's
off the rails?
hardy har har.
I'm sorry, still be my friend.
I think it's so it's about 7 years, and they've gone 12 revolutions around the earth on the tracks.
Yeah, I think a
So
revolution. I think it's like 206 days or something like that.
I
It's
believe
not
so.
quite. It's definitely not a whole year, and it's not quite half a year.
Well, they try to keep on pace, because if they don't hit certain points, then the tracks will freeze too much, and they won't be able to get through.
Well, they also have to keep a certain speed, otherwise they drain their batteries too much to get
The
going again.
the eternal engine will cease to run. So yeah. So basically, it's a post dystopian world where we fucked up the planet, and then decide, well, we, in the greater scheme of things, mostly the rich, and science tried to fix it, and it overcorrected, and now we have all these people on this train. So like right where the story kind of picks up is, um you have first class, second class, third class, and then they had some of these open cars toward the back that were going to be for like machinery and storage and stuff like that. But as the train is getting ready to depart, uh, a couple thousand people, just normal people like us, said, "You know what? Fuck you. We're getting on this train." It literally cannot just be because you're filthy rich or because you can serve a purpose working in third class that you're going to survive this. So they go through. There's guns blazing. They're killing soldiers. They're killing each other. They storm the train, and I believe like 400 of them get on in the tail area.
I think it was roughly 400.
So you see a lot of people dying, and a lot of, it's just terrible.
And basically, the tale is stowaways.
Yeah.
So they're given just enough supplies to barely eke out an existence.
So limited power, limited heat. They're always wearing extra clothes because they're always cold. They call them the tailies. They're basically the dregs of what's left of society. They give them this disgusting.
It almost looks like gelatin.
It is. It's like a mix of like everything that you would need to live like on a bare minimum. They like cut these cubes. It's really,
Soylent Green, basically.
it literally looks like so. It's kind of gross.
It might be made out of people.
So in the tail, in the tale, a lot of crazy stuff happens over a 7-year window. There's some cannibalism, but over time, a leader of such emerges, and that's Andre Layton. And who's he played by?
David Diggs. I can never remember his last name. I don't know why.
David Diggs.
David Diggs. You might know him from, he was on Blackish. He did a guest spot there for a little bit. He played the mother, Rainbow. I can't remember if he was the little brother or older brother.
He was the hippity dippity younger brother.
I couldn't remember if he was older or younger.
Yeah.
Never remember. But he had this guest role on there. He was also in Hamilton, if you watched the Disney Plus version.
Wow,
and I'm sure he was on the stage version too.
The real version, yes.
If you watch the Disney Plus version, he plays Lafayette and Jefferson, I believe.
Yes, Thomas Jefferson.
He's a really good actor, and right now you see him with Big Bird and Cookie Monster and stuff on commercials.
That was a crazy, new commercial for the Super Bowl. Totally fucking crazy.
He's everywhere right now on that.
He also has an experimental rap group that's been going for 6-ish years, I think.
Oh, really? Has it been that long?
Yeah, I know. He just stumbled on it going down the YouTube rabbit hole, and I love their music. It's very.
It's a lot of spoken word.
It is.
It's really good,
but it's very experimental. Like all the tones and everything, the melodies they use. It's cool. It's one of those things that you'll like it or you'll hate it after listening to one song. Basically,
check them out. It's Clipping.
Yeah, Clipping.
I like them. They're weird, but I dig weird.
So Andre has emerged this leader figure for the tale, and he has his tail son whose mom was killed during boarding. So his name is Miles and Miles, and then his girlfriend Josie. So and then you have just a rash of other characters. Pike,
played by Stephen Ogg.
Yeah, he's kind of a dick in every part I've ever seen him in. Because in The Walking Dead, he was Simon, one of the saviors, one of the generals, and he's just as much of a dick and a backstabber in this show.
Well, it's one of those things. You need a dick, you go get me Stephen Ogg.
You know what? And it literally
he's
worked.
Good at it.
It did. So the tale is consistently trying to take the train by force. They've built weapons. They stock up, and whenever they come down to take some out for sanitation or bring them food, it's always a bloodbath, and they always end up losing.
I mean, you can't really blame them for trying to fight back. They're given barely just enough food to survive, which is a big contention point for them.
And they start cutting back on it right around that point. They do half rations at the beginning. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, they're already almost starving, and now they're cutting their food in half. But for them wanting to break out, Layton keeps trying to convince them to go slow. They need to learn more about up train. There was only one person who's been up for more than like 20 or 30 cars. That was
Astrid, the cook chick.
I'm not talking about somebody who like graduated from the tale. I'm talking somebody who was just brought up for something.
Okay.
It was what was the old man's name?
Oh, I can't remember. But I do. I know what you're talking about.
He's also pretty much the oldest person in the tale.
Yes.
They took him up to tune a piano.
Yes. So basically the whole thing is keep your eyes open and try to, because there's all these security gates and stuff, and they're trying to always just find a way to get in, make their way up, and work things out with third class to take over.
Well, and I mean, truly, they need the intelligence to try and get farther than 2 or 3 cars.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had an uprising once or twice before, and I think the farthest they made it was a car.
Pretty much.
Before they were beaten back. But anyways, so what happens is, the beginning of this, they're getting ready to start a revolution again to try and escape. Layton's trying to talk Pike and some of the others down, but they're not really hearing it. And all of a sudden, the people from the train, from the hospitality group, come up and ask for Layton. Well, they come and drag him up to third class, feed him some nice tomato soup and a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yes. Oh, he inhaled it too, man. After eating all that paste for whatever the hell it is for 7 years.
And the reason they brought him up is they have a murder on the train.
And back in the old world, he was a homicide detective.
Exactly. So they want him to go out and solve their murder for him. And he pretty much tells them kick rocks. He ain't having it.
No, it's so it's at this point he's already met Ruth Waddle, who's like second in hospitality, and Bess Tillman, the security guard, and then like the head of the security guards, Brickman.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to coax him into doing this. In comes Melanie Cavill.
She's the voice of the train. They do morning announcements every day, like basically like high school,
Mm-hmm.
to let you know where they're at in the world, how long it's been, and kind of if the track's going to be rough that day or not.
Mm-hmm. To brace everybody every time they hit certain points, they're like brace, which means shit's about to get crazy and they need to hold on. Melanie claims that she's the only person that talks to Mr. Wilford now. He's been sealed up in the engine trying to keep everything going. And she throws him, some things. And
Basically, she makes a deal where they'll increase their rations.
They'll increase the rations, and they also offered him to move up to third class if he can solve the murder.
Which he said no to, but
no, because he wants to go back to the tail.
Well, he didn't want to be seen as a traitor. But the increase of rations is kind of more what he was pushing for, I think.
Mm-hmm. So they bring him up because of this murder, and it resembles a murder that they had 2 revolutions ago. It's very similar. The person was knocked out, and while they were still alive, their limbs and
Hoo dilly.
Yes, they whoever did it cut their dicks off. So they're like, okay, well that's it's too much of a coincidence for it to be just a different murder. So they take him to the night car, because you're supposed to be able to have some sort of experience. Plus, third class kind of runs everything, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the rich people are in charge, but third class is where you go if you need something.
It's where your worker bees are, basically.
So, but the rich come down there to go through this experience, this room where they can experience emotion. It's not sexual. It is just something that opens you up emotionally.
Basically, it's kind of like therapy.
It is.
It's EDMR, if any of you know what that is. Basically, it's sensory deprivation and helps you walk through your trauma.
Basically, they're up there, and Till actually takes Layton because they claim they have 3 suspects. And those 3 suspects are 2 people that we don't know, and one is actually Layton's wife from the old world, Zara. She had been picked from the tail and moved up to third class to work.
Yeah. And basically what happens in the third is you don't really have couples anymore. You have glomps, basically just big groups of people that decide to cohabitate together.
But they have I guess they draw straws to have babies.
Well, you basically have to petition,
mm-hmm.
And you have to be allowed to have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So Layton's ex-wife was allowed for her little couple group that she was in to have a baby.
And the person that she had picked is this guy, Sean, who is the guy that ended up
getting
murdered and no dick. So yeah, it's crazy. So Layton is actually able to go into the experience room with Zara to try to experience it, open him up, and he ends up seeing their like love and like them in the park and how he met her,
and does what Fat Joe says. freaks that bitch like he's trying to make a baby.
Yes, they have unprotected train sex. She says this isn't what everybody else gets, but it's you.
Maybe.
Uh,
Isn't that what they all say?
so what they try to do is they have these things called the drawers, and I'll let Kurt explain in a minute what the drawers are. But the woman who was charged with the first murder is actually the sister of the woman that runs the night car, and her name is Nikki. So she's in the drawers. So Kurt, what are the drawers?
Basically, the drawers are a drawer. It's like a little filing cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
But what it is instead of files and all that useless garbage at work, they put people in them, and they put them in suspended animation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, you find out later on the drawers are there not only just for prisoners and for punishment, but to also put people in who are high value. So they have, I think it's 400 some people just in the drawers.
Well, they have 400 available drawers.
Well, I
And
thought they had 400 people in the drawers besides.
besides, yes, yes.
Um, and basically, what it is, it's people that if, say, things got out of hand on Snowpiercer and you had to cut loose most of your people that you have already alive, you got these 400 people that are high value that you can try and start society over with again.
Well, also if well, either if the train derails or if the train runs out of supplies or if somehow the earth rewarms up. Basically, these are the people they want to restart society with. So they put them under with this concoction of drugs, and we end up, um, later on finding out that those drugs are also used to create this drug amongst all the passengers. It started out in the tail, basically the beta test, and it's called Chronol.
It's basically it's about the only drugs on this train at the
Mm-hmm.
moment um, that you can use to get a little high, escape reality, um, maybe make time pass a little slower or a little faster.
I'm gonna guess similar to heroin, maybe.
I don't know. You do see people getting high on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but so that's one of the leads that Layton's following is the drug trade, trying to figure out who's dealing, who's moving, and did this guy find out, and is that why he got killed?
So yeah. So basically, they're saying that this guy was an informant for Mr. Wilford. So they're, I think the biggest reason that Melanie wants to find out is because, spoiler alert, legitimately at the end of the second episode of the series of the first season, I figured they would wait. What do we find out?
There is no Wilford. He's not on the train. Melanie's been posing as Wilford the whole time. So not only is she the voice of the train, she pretty much is the whole effing show.
Yes, pretty much. It's her and these two other engineers, one of whom she's fucking. Um, so so yeah, so she's been lying to everybody for the last 7 years. So the big thing is this Sean guy he knew some of this stuff, and he also knew what the drawers were because he was confidential informant. So they believe while he was getting his dick cut off that he was spilling information to them. So that's why Melanie wants it solved ASAP.
So basically, it's loyalty to a fault. I mean, with that being said, she's afraid that if anybody found out that she was posing as Wilford, there'd be just mass chaos and revolution, and her head might end up on a pike.
Beth Tillman is working with Leighton to try to solve this murder. And because of the precision of the way that the limbs were removed, they think it might be somebody who's good with knives. So they immediately tried to go check out the butcher. And then,
Butchers.
well, the butcher. So they go to the cattle car and shit happens.
So basically, something comes up, flies off the track, and smashes through the window.
No, 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 no. Different part. No, no, no.
Oh,
This was they were hitting an avalanche, so they speed up and one of the guys is holding the bolt gun. He flies out and goes like this and smashes the window, and and everything in the room freezes because it's negative 117 degrees, including all their cows.
No more beef.
So literally, they were using the cows for beef, for milk, for breeding purposes to have more of them, and they were using the methane, their farts, to heat parts of the train. So they just lost a shitload of supplies because of one thing. They're able to go in after they clear and seal it up, and they end up finding the limbs, but no dick. They find the limbs, but no dick, and they're hidden in they're hidden in a vent behind some stuff, and you can see the precision was just flawless. And Leighton's like, no, this is too easy. At this point, the people in first class, the uptight, rich, elite douchebags that paid for funded most of the building of Snowpiercer, are in an uproar because they're upset that there's a tailie out, and he's the trained detective now. And there's a couple of them that are just real assholes.
Yeah, they're also upset that there was a murder and they tried to sweep it under the rug, keep it quiet. They feel like they should know everything that goes on the train all the time, which
it's the elite class. Yeah, they should.
Happens, I guess.
Yeah. So the biggest pains in the ass are the Folgers, though.
Yeah, they are definitely the most entitled and the most difficult to deal with.
So, and I caught it early on, and I was always wondering what was going on. So for that first couple episodes before Fight Night, they're going to have basically a UFC style fight, but without a cage, and whoever wins gets to move up to second class with second class rations and all the amenities,
accoutrement.
Yes. So, but like every time something happens, you see the Folger's young daughter,
LJ.
Yeah, she's probably like 15, 16. So she was probably like 7 or 8 when Snowpiercer took off.
Yeah, I'd say. Well, she might be even 18 at this point. I'm not sure exactly how old she is. But she was a kid when the world went to hell.
But so she constantly, every time someone brings something up, she looks back at her bodyguard. I'm like, okay, something's going on here. So they're at Fight Night, and the fight's going on, stuff's going crazy. An uproar happens with the EVS, the custodial staff. They cause so that Leighton can get away and talk to the head custodial staff, because that dude can get you anything.
He's basically the black market.
So he lets him know that they saw a dude in his 30s with a buzz cut, which made me think, okay, so maybe it was the bodyguard, because he's 30s and has that strong jawline, buzz cut. The girl Nikki comes out of the
suspended animation.
Well, she was, but she was kind of, and she makes her way, and they see her and they point her out, and everybody's like freaking out, and then they take her back to
med bay.
Yeah, the med bay. And you see LJ look back at the bodyguard. Everybody's trying to sort stuff out. And who do we see come to the med bay?
The bodyguard.
And what does he proceed to do?
He may hold a pillow over her face. Well, not really, but
I mean, no, he brutally murdered the security guard out front. He brutally murdered the doctor on staff, and then he went like full on. He massacred. He choked her out. He cut her throat. He beat the shit out of her. And she watched him coming, and she remembered the face. So he must have been responsible for the first one.
Yeah, he was definitely the murderer of the first one. She was the witness, but they pinned it on her. So, anyways, he tries to get away after he does the murder. he goes down in one of the channels below the train, or well, not below the train, but below the car. There's service channels basically underneath most of the train.
But those have been stopped due to what happened during the fight. So, dude can't get back up to first class. So he is freaking out.
And I think that's the point where Leighton and the is it the brakeman,
Yes.
they realize who did it.
Well, they realize that they do realize who did it, and then when they find him, when them and Tillman, the chick, whenever the female security guard, whenever they find him, he has actually Till's girlfriend at gunpoint and using her as a shield.
So they try and basically pin him in, try and convince him to put the gun down, which he's not really having.
Yeah.
And they end up boxing him out basically and putting him down.
Well, he shoots. He shoots like an electrical box, and it sparks something out that hits him, and then all of their military, the jackboots, come in with axes and just slaughter him on the ground.
It didn't go so good.
Yeah, he gets just brutally killed by the jackboots. And then whenever the Leighton and Brickman go to the Folgers' sweet ass cabin in first class, holy hell, it looks like a fucking townhouse.
Yeah, the first class accommodations are a lot better than anything we've seen in the third class or the tail so far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the sets on this thing are pretty good. They're pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're pretty detailed. So they're still trying to figure out why the security guard would have done this.
And I mean, Leighton puts it together like a detective, ex-military. He ends up realizing that maybe LJ, who has known this guy as her bodyguard since she was probably 11 then.
Or even younger. He might have been with them before they even headed toward the train.
They have formed a weird union. So, basically, she's a fucking sociopath.
Yeah, she's a little bit of a psycho.
And she's the one that convinced him to hold those dudes down while she cut off their dicks and limbs. And she has the dicks perfectly preserved in a jewelry box. So the way Leighton catches her is he starts laying it out, and he's like, I get it, I understand, fuck the elite, screw the bourgeoisie. As long as the tailies are getting more rations, I don't give a shit what you did. This dude's gone. We can do it like that. But then 180, he comes out and tells everybody everything.
Sells LJ down the river after she confessed, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So they put her under arrest because, well, she's cutting dicks off, man. She's cutting off dicks. And so after they put her under arrest, they decide to hold a tribunal to basically have the jury to convict her and decide what to do with her.
So, but before the tribunal, Leighton goes to have drinks with Melanie, and she drugs him because he has figured out that there is no Wilford, that she's been running the show since day motherfucking one, and she's like, I can't have this asshole out.
Yeah, Leighton basically becomes the most dangerous man on the train for Melanie.
So she throws him in a drawer.
Yeah.
Doesn't tell anybody, throws him in a drawer.
Well, I mean, what would you have done? Me personally, I'd have thrown him off the fucking train.
Yeah, pretty much he becomes enemy of the state.
But, I plays for keeps.
I guess. So they're getting ready to hold this tribunal. So tell me about the tribunal.
So basically, the tribunal is generally you grab some passengers and make a jury. Now, usually, first class does first class, second class does second class.
Mm-hmm.
I think second class does third class because, screw those guys.
Yeah, pretty much. And then the tailies don't even get a trial.
No, they just get dropped. So basically, there's a little bit of uproar about just being first class. They figure they're just going to let LJ off with a slap on the
Mhm,
wrist. The whole train is pretty much incensed and up in arms at this point.
mhm.
So, with a little bit of arm twisting by Nikki's sister, who runs the night car, they decide to actually have a tribunal full of people from first, second, and third.
Mhm.
Still no tailies because screw those guys.
Mhm.
Um,
So I think they use a is it like they use like a lottery system kind
they
of?
kind of draw names out of a hat almost. So basically, they all sit down. They do their little spiel. They basically have a trial like we do nowadays. Um, no real lawyers though, just kind of people laying out the facts
Yeah,
and disputing them. And then they call for a vote. The tribunal votes are guilty.
unanimously guilty.
Yeah, they pretty much say, she done it. They're talking about what to do with her after that, what sentencing.
I think they were gonna throw her in the drawers pretty much.
Yeah, I don't remember if they were going to draw her or if they were talking about maybe more extreme measures, but I think the drawers was going to be what happened. Uh, but then LJ, being LJ, realized what Leighton had realized.
Well, no, she didn't necessarily find that out. She did find out from Sean that the dude she was murdering because he was an open book at that point because he was getting his dick cut off. I feel like I should have a ticker every time I say dick cut off. It's gonna tick up. Like we're gonna do that. We're gonna add that. um, so so he spills the beans about the drawers, about the shit that's going on with Snowpiercer, and the fact that Melanie is not who she seems. And I think Melanie realizes this.
Well, she kind of whispers to Melanie that she knows her secret.
Yeah.
And Melanie goes, "Oh, snap." So Melanie really quick decides to phone in a call to the people in the engine. They really quick cobble together a little speech from Mr. Wilford pardoning LJ.
Mm, yeah.
Um, so she gets to go scot free.
Which is horseshit and causes people to get upset.
Yeah. Doesn't really make the train feel very happy.
No.
There's no warm and fuzzies.
Well, it's because the first get away with everything. It's like well, it's just like our world is now. The elite get away with everything.
I told you it's the golden rule. Those that
Yeah.
have the gold, they makes them rules.
So while all this is going on, Josie starts sneaking up. She jumps on the sanitation crew and she keeps sneaking up. Um, and she communicates with Astrid, who used to be a tailie, who's working in food, and she starts sending her messages. Well, one of the messages she gets is that Leighton is missing. He can't find him, and they're telling everybody that he is in the tail, which he is not. So she goes in for sanitation. She switches clothes with Astrid, and she's got Astrid's
Well,
third
actually, she
class,
has a chip that Leighton slipped her.
which was a third class
I
key, I
thought it was
believe.
a security key
It might be.
because she can get into pretty much anywhere.
She put it on a bracelet. So she ends up finding and making a deal with Terrence, the head of Custodial, and they get her into the room with the drawers. Well, the room that they believe is the only room that has drawers, but apparently there's several cars just like it. And she finds him, and she hits him with Epi, and he is all like high as shit from whatever the hell they had, all the drugs they had him in there on. And she takes him to Zara to basically detox.
It takes a little while for the drugs they use to put you in suspended animation to get out of your system, apparently.
Yeah, they start puking up black stuff. Like whenever Cartman started puking up the evil, whenever he became good. The episode.
Yes. So basically, you're all out of sorts. You don't know where you're going. You don't know if you're coming or going or what's going on. So they hold him down, detox him, get him back to normal, and he realizes he knows the secret of the train. He can put this thing on its flipping lid, basically. Um, so he doesn't really tell anybody quite yet what he knows.
No, he says he knows something that'll blow the roof right off of Snowpiercer, but he's not going to tell him just yet.
Because that'd be too easy.
Um, so yeah, so Josie takes him to the
The doctor, I think, for
third
second
class.
class.
I thought it was third class.
Maybe it's third class.
I think it was third class. But she starts dropping all this conspiracy stuff on him, like the drawers aren't what they seem. Everybody started getting these random red X's on their medical charts, and she doesn't know what it is, and she's panicking because she now has a red X.
And we find out later that the red X is basically you're valuable.
You are valuable, and you should be saved if there's any way.
Yeah, if there needs to be people put in a drawer just to put them to sleep for a little bit before we're ready, she was one of the ones because she's high value.
Mm-hmm. So because of that random shot that the bodyguard took, a bunch of battery acid leaks, and it causes some issues with some brakes. So the train is literally, if they don't fix it before they hit this over gorge bridge, it's gonna fucking fall off, and they're all gonna die.
Yeah, so they're definitely in some trouble. They have a chance of derailing. They need to put somebody down there to fix the issue.
Well, and Melanie built it. It's her baby, and she decides to go down. But before she can make it, Leighton puts a knife to her throat and tries to kill her.
Yeah, he may be a little bitter over being stuck in a drawer.
I don't doubt it,
He
but
may have took that shit personally.
I don't doubt it. But she, she tells him what the drawers are really for, and that Snowpiercer's not in as great a shape as everybody thinks it is, and he drops the knife and lets her go, and she does her thing, and she fixes it just in the nick of time before the train falls off the bridge.
It might be a cable TV show.
It is a cable TV show. So so Zara, in the meantime, fucking turns on the tailies, shows them who Josie is, and Melanie proceeds to torture her.
Yeah. So she puts her in her room, beats her up a little bit, roughs her up, asks some questions. I don't remember what she was trying to ask her.
She was trying to find out where Leighton was, because Leighton disappeared after he tried to kill her.
Yeah, but I didn't think Josie even knew where he was at that time.
Actually, well, nobody did. So that's exactly what happened, and then she decides to get sadistic with it.
Well, if you got real cold air outside, why not use it? So she threatens to pump in some cold air and hurt Josie with it. So she does put in a little bit of cold air. Doesn't really spray it on her or anything yet. Just makes the room a little chilly. And then she decides she's going to let her think about it for a little bit.
Yeah.
So she walks out.
No. She walked out because she had to puke.
Well, yeah, but I think she didn't go right back in afterwards either, though.
No. But before she left, she took her fucking pinky.
Oh yeah, that's
she took the air nozzle and then took a hammer, and she's like, "Tell me where he is," and the finger just goes everywhere, and she's like, she can't breathe, she's freaking out. So Melanie leaves and goes in the bathroom and pukes and starts crying because she's never had to take anybody's finger, apparently. Or maybe she's just regretting it at this point.
She never made it Yakuza.
Oh my god. So while this is going on, Leighton is working to unite third class and the tailies and anybody else they possibly can.
They're looking for everybody to join the revolution, basically.
Yes. So to the point where Miles actually shows LJ that there is no Mr. Wilfer. And
Miles, by the way, had got accepted to a program for engineering.
Yeah,
they were basically making
kid.
him an apprentice engineer.
Yep.
Teach him how to run the train, teach him about the train, and everything else.
So he knew there was no Wilford at that point, but because he had gotten word, he waited until the one engineer was fucking around, had headphones on, and he brought her in, and she got all up on him, all crazy and shit. Man, there's something wrong with that girl.
Well, she was cutting dicks.
Yeah, that's gross. But yeah. So basically, we're at this point where um, it's messed up, and Josie and Melanie start kind of going at it, and Josie's like, "Fuck this!" She kicks the thing out of the wall. The room fills up with ice, and Josie is dead. Melanie escapes. So that is gonna piss the fuck out of Leighton.
Josie may have been his train wife.
That yes, she was his train wife, and he really did love her. So once all the rich fuckers find out that there's no Wilford, there's a sedation, there's a fucking mutiny.
Yeah, first class doesn't like the way Melanie ran things.
Well, neither did the military.
And I was gonna say, yeah, the jackboots are not real happy either. She also made some enemies amongst the hospitality group.
Well, the Ruth wanted to be in charge regardless.
Well, Ruth wanted to be in charge, but also Ruth felt special because Wilford handpicked her.
Mm-hmm.
She was very loyal to Wilford. She thought for sure she was basically his left hand, since Melanie was his right.
Yeah, I mean, she told the head of the jackboots, the head of the military, how she met Wilford and how he's like, I have a job for you, and he saved her life. So they basically try to do this coup. They capture Melanie and put her in cuffs, and she tells Ruth the actual story, that Wilford was just a guy selling tickets, that she built the engine Eternal, that she built Snowpiercer, that he got off the train before it took off, and that that she needed to just chill out, and she's sorry, but she was trying to save humanity. And Ruth didn't want any of it. She did not believe a single fucking word.
Well, I mean, can you really blame her? I mean, Wilford saved her life. Wilford gave her a purpose.
Well, she gave him hero complex, basically.
True. They decide they're going to kill Melanie. They're going to execute her. They're going to give her ice lung.
So they say by lung of ice, where they strap this thing to your face and you breathe in the straight cold air.
So basically, it freezes you from the inside out.
But she's saved.
Leighton does come in.
Well, the resistance. They send in the last Australian.
Yeah, the last Australian. I'm the last Australian, mate.
I need to breathe. I'm the last Australian.
So that might be his catchphrase.
Yes.
So basically, the resistance takes a crazy turn, and Melanie suggests using the farce of Leighton turning himself in, because the first class and hospitality pretty much, and the jackboots are kind of wanting him as person, number 2 on their list, besides Melanie.
Yeah, they basically said, let us have you. We're going to kill you, but we won't mess with the tailies. We won't cut off the, we won't cut them off the train. We'll stop fucking around with them. We just want you.
And basically they said, if you don't turn yourself in, we're just going to hook them. They threatened to unhook and just let the cars go by. So they ain't real down with that. But Leighton says, okay, you got me, guys. The needs of the one do not outweigh the needs of the many. Star Trek. Sorry, had to be done. It's for you, Beam. So he pretends like he's going to turn himself in. They get Melanie free, and
so they do all this. They want, so the first class comes to second class. They're in the classroom. So basically, you have the entirety of second class. They've made this plan that Leighton's going to go in and give himself up, because on the other side is the end of second class, third class. So the plan is Melanie's going to unhook after first class, and Leighton's going to make his way back and unhook before third class.
Well, isn't it just the second class dining cars?
It's the second class dining cars in the classroom. So it's 7 trains or 7 cars.
So basically, what they do is Melanie hooks it from one end, and Leighton hooks it from the other.
well,
Now, the problem with that is not only is it the jackboots and some of first class. It wasn't all of first class, but it was a good majority of them.
it was the Folgers and like the real pains in the ass.
Yeah. But it also they had some of the people from the tail chained up in there.
And Leighton tries to save them, but he has no key and he has to make a judgment call. And
Time is of the essence. So unfortunately, he has to sacrifice a few of his taily friends to get rid of all the rest of them.
so those trains go off on one track, and then Miles is actually driving the train at this point, slows it down, and then they re-engage and rehook back up. So now they are
Snowpiercer,
994
cars long.
Yep. Um, so at this point, shit gets a little wild. The tail goes,
They got freedom, baby.
they got freedom, but they cause messes. They go and take over like rich people's cars, start ravaging the food, messing stuff up, and just really being pigs about it.
Basically, they've been locked in a garbage pit for 7 years.
Yeah.
So they go a little crazy at first. They don't really have their manners back. They're happy to see food for the first time in quite a while.
Yes, but Pike.
Well, Pike is a special kind of dick.
Yeah, so
we've discussed this.
So Pike was actually going to turn over Leighton and become like the leader of the Tailies, but then they offered him like second class treatment or third class or some shit like that, and so he's a dick to start with. But he basically takes over the Folgers' car and starts eating all their food and trying their clothes on, and apparently they use her parents' bed to fuck, because they haven't been able to fuck in the tail because there's no privacy.
Well, I think they could. It's just
It's weird.
They haven't had privacy in a bed for quite a while to do it in. So Melanie goes to the night car and she goes into the room with the therapy basically for the experience. She sits down and she starts thinking about what's going on, all the trauma she's experienced, all the stress and everything she's dealt with running the train for these past 7 years, pretty much single-handedly.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't like handing out too many roles for other people to help her with. She was trying to shoulder all on her own. And she sees her daughter, who is presumed dead at this point because she didn't get on the train. She was supposed to be met with her parents.
Her grandparents were supposed to bring her to the train.
Melanie's parents,
Yeah.
Were supposed to bring her daughter onto the train and meet up with them. And they didn't get a chance to do that before they departed. Mm-hmm. So she's a little upset about this and, trying to work through her trauma. So anyways, while this is going on, Leighton's slowly taking over the train for the time being. Mm-hmm. They're talking about starting a democracy, letting the people rule their fates, America.
No, they wanted a democratic utopia.
I know.
Which this country will never be, but they wanted a democratic utopia.
Shut your dirty mouth. So anyways, and it's decided Melanie, since she is very valuable as, an engineer, she's going to be left to run the train through the engineering and stuff. That's about all she's going to be allowed to do. Mm-hmm. She's not going to be able to do the day-to-day, and she's not going to be the voice of the train anymore for sure.
No, that's going to be Ruth.
Well, and Leighton.
Yes, and Leighton.
So as they're driving along and everything seems to be settled down and they're getting ready to reformat the way the world works on Snowpiercer, mm-hmm. they start hearing a signal. A little bit of classical music coming through mm-hmm. that they can't pinpoint where it's coming from.
Yeah, all of a sudden, all their analog antennas frozen, like the satellite feed goes out, so they have no clue where the signal's coming from.
But they're getting pretty close to Chicago,
which is where the next revolution starts. That's ground zero.
That's basically the departure point. which who can blame them? You got to get out of Chicago any way you can. um, so, anyways, as they're driving through Chicago, they're trying to figure out where this is coming from. They're trying to decide if there's maybe survivors out there, which how could that be? I mean, the world's frozen, everybody's dead. Well, all of a sudden they realize that maybe they're not alone. Maybe something else is on the tracks. They realize there's another train, and it's chasing them down. They had slowed down trying to figure out where the signal was.
Well, because they said if they passed the point there, then they wouldn't be back for 206 days. And if there were some people somehow mysteriously still alive, that, you know, they would pick them up now, or they'd probably be dead if they did a full revolution after that.
Yeah. So once they realize it's another train, though, they start trying to pour on the speed.
Well, because Melanie's like, basically, it's her oh shit moment. Like, oh my god, that's Big Alice. So Big Alice was a prototype supply train. It was supposed to meet up with Snowpiercer after each revolution to bring
Spare
things,
parts.
well, yeah, spare parts that they were run out of, cultures to grow more cows. Like basically, they had embryos to start growing more animals and to, you know, start basically uptick every revolution to make sure there was always food, there was always parts, there was always anything that they needed. But they scrapped the idea. So Melanie's like, son of a bitch, fucking Wilford's on this fucking train, and he's gonna try to take Snowpiercer back. So she starts losing her shit and cranks the speed up as fast as possible.
The only problem with that is Big Alice is a big engine. And not only is she a big engine, shorter. She's 40 cars long.
Yeah, she's a lot shorter, and she can move hella fast.
So ends up Big Alice chases Snowpiercer down and rams onto them. After it rams onto him, it basically forces a connection.
Well, it basically was set up that it would connect that way, and that's how it had a full dock. Basically, the front end of Big Alice came up and dropped on, and then they start trying to cut through the doors. But at the same point, they also start hacking the system of Snowpiercer from the outside. They had
there's a data connection terminal, basically.
Yeah. So basically, they crank it on and they start hacking the system, and Melanie starts freaking out because she knows exactly what's going to happen. Is they're going to try to stop them, or he's going to take the thing. So she does something really crazy.
She gets geared up in an basically it's a snowsuit.
Yeah,
but a special snowsuit for negative 40 degrees. So she's going to go out and try and manually cut the connection, so Snowpiercer can try and get away. Now the only problem with this is while she's trying to climb out onto the train to where she can cut it, Big Alice hits the old brakes. Pretty much drags Snowpiercer down to a stop. Melanie goes flipping off the train, landing in the snow, and Snowpiercer's dead in the water.
No, both trains are at a dead stop, and if they don't start back up within minutes, everybody's dead.
Snowpiercer, from what I can understand, if it's not moving, its batteries deplete really quickly.
Yes.
Part of the way it draws its power is through its own movement.
It's friction. It's the eternal engine.
Well, yeah, it is the eternal engine. But the problem with that is after 10 minutes, the power stores on Snowpiercer are going to be too depleted for it to get itself moving again under its own power.
So everybody's going to die.
Pretty much.
The end of humanity.
About this time, they finally get through the door and kick it open. And in walks I think she's about 15, 16-year-old girl.
Yeah, that was really weird. Like, you expect to see Wilford, you expect to see somebody, but you just get this teenage girl. And she basically says, you have 10 minutes to peacefully hand over Snowpiercer, or we're all going to fucking die. And then she asks an odd question.
She asked if Melanie Cavill's still alive.
So Ruth and Leighton kind of look at each other, and Ruth's like, "Yes. Why are you asking? Who are you?" And the little girl says, I'm her daughter. I'm Alexandra." So basically, the daughter that was supposed to meet with the grandparents apparently somehow got on Snowpiercer 2 Electric Boogaloo. So Wilford is running Big Alice, but he has Melanie's daughter.
Well, I mean, if you can't have the chief engineer on Snowpiercer, why not have the old chip off the block?
Well, basically, we think that Wilford's dead, but at this point, no. He basically went back to Wilford Industries, jumped on Big Alice, maybe saved more people, probably saved her just to fuck Melanie off. So Melanie basically wakes up out of the snow, sees both trains have stopped, and she just like,
And that's kind of where it cuts off for the season.
yeah, it turns, but basically the screen turns black, and it's like, holy shit, like, where do you go from here?
Oh, I know.
I know you know. So
season 2 just recently kicked off. I'm caught up to date. I won't go into any details yet because somebody.
Well, I would
Somebody.
I would prefer to watch it straight through when it's done, and then do another one of these videos for our loyal fan base. All two of you.
I love you, Lance. Thanks, Jen. We need your support.
Yes, thank you.
I apologize. You have to sit through this. No, and also somebody didn't start watching Snowpiercer until just recently.
I burned through it in 3 days, though. I
told you it was good.
And I love dystopian futures, but like this, the story is good. The character development is awesome.
It's a very well written show.
Yeah, I'm happy. So,
and the casting is pretty
spot on. Yeah.
They do a pretty good job.
So this show is based off of.
There was a movie called Snowpiercer. I think it was early 2000s. It has Captain America himself, Chris Evans, in it.
Oh, nice.
I personally have never watched it.
Is it related to this, or is it similar story, or?
It is a similar story. It is a little darker from everything I read.
Oh,
yeah, it gets darker.
I mean, this is TNT. This is already pretty dark.
Oh, it gets darker.
A lot like smashing people's frozen arms off with sledgehammers and shit. I mean,
it's pretty violent, pretty gruesome, pretty heartbreaking.
But where did this story actually come from? Is there a graphic novel, or?
There is a French comic book it was based on, I believe.
A French comic book?
Freaking frogs, man. No, I don't remember what it was called, and even if I did, let's face it,
can't speak French.
I suck at other languages.
I cannot pronounce the words. So if anybody knows the name of the comic, go ahead and add it in the comments, or like message us, please, because I think that's pretty fucking awesome. I mean, I would like to look at the pictures because I can't read it. That's what I do with half my graphic novels anyway.
It's that Florida education.
Oh, man.
It's okay. We'll try and teach you to read someday.
So, yes, definitely watch Snowpiercer if you like action, if you like dark stuff, if you like dystopian futures. Fuck, hold on. I think that's gonna actually no, I don't think it will because it's not on the screen. Okay. So yeah, I mean, if you like post-dystopian weirdo futures, people eating other people, this has it. I mean, there's actually a scene that shows people cutting up a heart and eating it. I mean, it was kind of fucking gross.
I watched Indiana Jones. It's not my first time.
Yeah. All right. Like us, pop that notification bell so that you know when our videos come out. We pretty much do one every week. So this has been another episode of two fanboys reviewing stuff, and we'll talk to you guys later.